Hello, welcome to Crafting in Quarantine with Arts Etobicoke. My name is Marjan Verstappen, and today I made some paper beads, and I'm going to make some more and show you how. Here's the ones I've made so far. So I hope you enjoy, and I'll show you how mine turned out at the end. So you're going to need some kind of glue. This is sort of a tacky glue. School glue is great as well. And maybe something small to keep it in, because we're only going to need a tiny amount at once. And then you're going to need some paper, and any kind of paper will do. If you have fancy papers or wrapping papers, then they're fantastic. I don't have them. I just have some magazines and some flyers, but you can still make really nice looking beads with those. Here's some I made earlier. Then you're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a tool to wrap your beads around. So I've got a chopstick, the ones that come with takeaway boxes, and I've just cut the end off. And then I've also got a bamboo skewer. You can choose which one you want. It depends on how big you want the whole of your bead to be. And I'm going to show you a trick for how to make these into a good bead making tool. Then you're going to need an X-Acto knife. And then last of all, I'm using a piece of thick chipboard here as my cutting board. And you're probably going to need a cutting board too. So you see how this chopstick has a little slot in one end that goes about 1.5 inches down into it. So I'm going to do one, I'm going to show you how to cut another one in that. I mean, it's fairly obvious, but I'm going to just take my X-Acto, cut down through it. It's easier to do it this way, but try not to cut your fingers. There. So that's the kind of tool we want. Also, most of the bamboo takeaway chopsticks come with a little point on the end. And I just used a pair of pliers, and you can use a pair of scissors to just cut off that end because we want it to have a square end. And if you're using a bamboo stick, just take the square end and very gently cut a slot in it in the same way. So to roll one of these beads, first of all, you need some paper, and it's sort of this area, the top edge of the paper, that's going to be on the outside of the bead. So whatever color you want it to be, make sure that there's no border around it. So I've cut the white border off this area, and that it's just the colors that you want. And then just cut a strip off. It doesn't have to be perfectly straight or anything. And I'm just gonna cut a couple of strips off because the width of the strip sort of dictates the size of your bead. So if I want them evenly sized, then I'm gonna have to do more than one. I could also just fold it and cut it. And so this is the end that I want the color on. I really like this color. And then I'm going to take my and just slot the corner in. So I've got my beading tool here. And I've just tucked one of the corners into the slot. This might take a couple of goes to get a bead you're satisfied with. It's a little bit fiddly, but it's very rewarding. It's worth it. And then I'm going to roll. I'm just rolling, making sure that the pattern I want is on the outside. So we're going to roll it up lengthways, and then we're going to roll it flat into a bead. And what I'm trying to do is make sure that this roll, this sort of cylinder that I'm making, is as straight as I can get it, because that'll make the bead look nice and even as well. And I want it pretty tight. And see how it gets a little bit wider at the end? So I'm going to try and avoid that scenario as much as possible, but if it's unavoidable, it's okay as well. It doesn't have to be perfect, it still makes a beautiful bead. And then I'm going to gently pull it out at this end. And that's why you don't want it too tight when you roll, or else it'll pull out and rip there. And just check that it's a firm roll. I'm going to tighten it a bit at this end, make sure it's straight. And then I'm going to flatten out this way. I'm just going to make sure the camera's focused as much as it can be. And then just slot this end into my beading tool and then roll like that. And I'm going to do it pretty tight this time. And then I'm just going to get a small dab of glue. Now it's best to use a tacky glue, but if you have just a school glue or something like that, see, mine sticks right away, but if you have school glue, just hold it tight for about, 30 seconds to a minute, and then it will stay put. School glue sometimes isn't as strong. And then once that's stuck, just gently, gently ease it off your beading tool, homemade beading tool. Sometimes that piece of paper comes off, but that's okay. I'm just going to tuck it back in. And there is the bead. So here's how my necklace turned out. And I just put it on the chain I always wear. But, you know, I was surprised to see I ended up with this lovely gradient. And I'll show you close up. So the beads aren't perfectly even, but I sort of don't mind. I'm kind of enjoying the homemade look. As you know, that's how I like my jewelry. And anyway, I hope you really enjoy making your own jewelry with these beads. I'm really interested to know what else you could use them for, or if you have other ideas. I mean, they could be bracelets or rings. You can do big ones or small ones. So if you have any you want to send my way, I would love to see them. And as always, you will see me next Thursday. I wish you a very safe, happy, creative week, and goodbye.